Hey y'all, so I'm back with the second word. This word is going to be um the analogy that God gave me with this is quite interesting. He's saying that it is time for you to bring your vehicle in for service. And by vehicle, I mean your your vehicle is pretty much your transportation, right? Your movement, your plans, your goals, your ministry, like your journey, right? um the thing that is driving you, that is keeping you moving, your movement through on this journey with God, on this path, right? And just like with any vehicle, every so often you have to take it in for service to get new oil, an oil change, because the old oil only lasts for so long, right? Until it burns, and then you need to replace it with fresh new oil to keep your car running smoothly. Something else that happens in a service, they check your windshield wiper fluid. Without that, dirt and stuff gets caked up on your windshield, and then it's harder for you to see. So you need to always make sure that you have like windshield wiper fluid so that you are constantly like cleaning your windshield so that you could see clearly on your journey. And what else? Sometimes they can do an alignment, right? Because if your car is out of alignment, your steering is out of alignment, right? Your vehicle can veer off path. It can go to the right, it can go to the left, it can just go off path. So you need to make sure your car is in alignment. You're in alignment. And not veering off path, right? What else? Sometimes the in a service, they will check all the parts to make sure that all the parts are working properly. Your signals are working properly, right? Your headlights are working properly. Like, they check to make sure everything is working properly. And if one thing is off, right, just all it takes is one thing being off, one part to be broken or not working properly, and it starts to act over time of that thing not being fixed or dealt with, starts to trickle into other parts of the vehicle, and then other things start getting out of alignment and stop working, right, and start working incorrectly. It's just like a trickling effect. So it's very important to catch those parts that aren't working and replace them, right, with new, so that it keeps your vehicle, all of these things work together, right, to keep your vehicle running properly and running smoothly. But if anything is off, it can cause you to veer off path. Also, tire pressure, when your tire pressure is low, it can cause your gas to start guzzling out, like your fuel to go low, your car starts driving differently. Maybe you feel lately like you're running on low, you're running on E, right? Maybe you've been feeling, I don't know, certain things coming to surface, right? That may just negativeness, right? Negativity. I don't know if negativeness is a word, but we made it a word today. Negativity. Maybe you're feeling like certain emotions or certain feelings, or you're acting out of character, like certain things have been happening lately. And what God was showing me is he's saying it's time, and you keep seeing like problem after problem after problem. Sometimes it's not even warfare that's happening and you may think it's warfare. It's actually you. And it's God allowing things to be brought to surface, so that, because throughout your journey with him, just like a car, like, you have to keep it maintenance, you have to keep it clean, you have to keep your car clean. you have to keep it within good standing, right? And so that goes with like hand in hand with sin. And sin could be anything. It could be like mental, it could be thoughts. Sin, no matter how big or how little, right? Sin is still sin. There is it could be things that words that you speak, right? That could be some sort of sin. Gossip or anything, right? The way that you talk. It could be heart posture. It can be ways that you have been feeling, like you might be feeling bitter or jealous or envious or something. God is just bringing, right? Or thoughts that you might be having. You might be having some bad thoughts, any sort of negative thoughts. Yeah, it could be sin. Sin could be like your hands, physical acts, right? And he's just bringing this to light because you don't just go through like one cleansing, one refiner's fire, one. It's like if something comes up, it gets dealt with, it gets fixed, right? And so he might have to take you until, and maybe there's some sort of sin that you've been struggling with, like you get rid of it, but then it comes back. And he'll have to continue to resurface, pluck up, pull up, burn off, and cleanse and purify and everything every so often on this journey with him, right? To keep you clean, to keep you pure, right? And it's a process. And it's for your greater good, but he's saying like it's time to come in to the service. It's time to make a service appointment, right? And anything that might be broken right now, he's there to fix it. He's there to heal it. You might need a time of healing, right? Because that might be your negative, something negative that's been brought up is just negative emotions that you've been feeling that you thought were gone, but now they're triggered, right? Because they're still there. They were never really gone, but they were never really fully dealt with either. So maybe he's showing you these things so that you can heal them, right? So that he can heal them. Maybe there's certain sin that he's been, convicting you for as of lately, like more so than ever, because he needs you to get rid of it. So he's just making it very plain and clear how he feels about it, and that he's making it obvious that it's there and that it needs to be dealt with. Maybe there's just feelings in your heart that have been, whatever the case it is to purify you and cleanse you, but he needs you to come to him. He needs you to make a appointment with him to come on in and get serviced. And whatever, maybe you're out of alignment, your vehicle's out of alignment, he just needs to push you back into alignment, realign you, right? Like whatever that may be. And also, he had taken me to Leviticus 13, starting at 59. Let's see. And this, from a spiritual standpoint, it's the rules of cleaning mildew. Now, this mildew, from what he has shown me, is spiritually looking at it, it's sin. Okay, and these are the rules for cleaning sin off of one's house, right? The Lord also, that's to come now. Okay, sorry. Starting at 13, it's the rules about mildew. So some clothing might have mildew on it. You can look at the clothing as, well, let me finish. The cloth might be linen or wool. The cloth, it might be woven or knitted. The mildew might be on a piece of leather or on something made from leather. The mildew might be in the clothing, leather, or woven or knitted material. So the sin, the mildew, might be here. It might be here. It might be here. It might be on your heart. It could be anywhere, right? Little or big. There is no sin bigger than the other. Like sin is sin, right? Sin is all sin. It says the mildew might be red or green. If it is red or green, it is spreading mildew. That's bad mildew. That mildew, it says, then it must be shown to the priest. If you've got sin that is spreading, right, starting to make things that are clean unclean, because it's not being dealt with, it's not being caught, it's not being gotten rid of, it needs to be brought to God. Okay? It needs to be brought to God. The priest must look at the mildew, and he must put that thing in a separate place for 7 days. That looks like a separation and isolation period to me. On the 7th day, he must look at the mildew. It doesn't matter if the mildew is on leather or cloth. It doesn't matter if the cloth is woven or knitted. It doesn't matter what it was used for. It doesn't matter where, why, how the sin occurred. It's just the fact that the sin is there. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. Sin is sin. It says, it doesn't matter what it was used for. If the mildew has spread, it is a mildew that destroys. Sin that is not dealt with, that just continues to spread, it destroys. It starts to touch other things. Anything that touches it is now unclean. Something that was clean before, so it just spreads like wildfire, right? And it destroys the things around it. If you are sitting in a relationship, you're with someone, right? That sin is going to spread onto them, right? And so the priest must burn it. That to me sounds like God taking you through the fire. At that point, the sin that spread, it's spreading, he's got to take you through the fire. He's got to burn it up. Just like, when he washed the world away, pretty much washed everything away because everything was bad. The humanity was no good, so he decided to wash it away and start all over. He's got to burn up those things and start all over, right? Get rid of them. That's the refiner's fire that he has to take you through. If the priest sees that the mildew has not spread, the cloth or leather must be washed. Washed, like a cleansing and a purification, right? The priest must order the people to wash that piece of leather or cloth. That might look like God telling you to cleanse yourself, right? To cleanse yourself. You can cleanse yourself. You should be cleansing yourself, right? Washing of the word, just keeping yourself cleansed and purified, right? The priest, so it says, then he must separate the clothing for 7 more days. Okay? After that time, the priest must look at it again. So, if the mildew still looks the same, right? That thing is unclean. So, it does not matter if the mildew has not spread. You must burn that cloth. So if God sees that, there are things that are unclean, he has to burn, he has to take you through the fire. And it hurts. It's hot, right? But you come out of it not smelling like smoke, and you come out of it, it's all for your greater good. He has plans to prosper you, give you hope in a good future, right? Never to harm you. So it's not to harm you, although it might hurt and it might not feel good. It is for your greater good, right? When the priest looks at the piece of leather or cloth, the mildew might have faded. Then the priest must tear the mildew out of the piece of leather or cloth. Sounds like a tearing down, a tearing off, right? A ripping, a tearing down. If the cloth is woven or knitted, but the mildew might come back to that piece of leather or cloth. that sin may still come back. If that happens, the mildew is spreading. And that piece of leather or cloth must be burned. The cloth, the woven or knitted material, or the leather may be washed. The mildew may then be gone. It must be washed again. Then it will be clean. Says these are the teachings about the mildew on pieces of leather or cloth. It doesn't matter if the cloth is woven or knitted. Now, going over to Leviticus 14:33, this is rules for cleaning mildew. The Lord also said to Moses, and I hear people say Aaron, I read it as Aaron. I am giving the land of Canaan to your people. When they enter that land, I might cause mildew to grow in someone's house. The owner of that house must come and tell the priest. So like when you see mildew, when you see sin growing, right? When you see sin, yourself struggling, you must go to God and repent, right? That's part of it. And then ask him for help to get rid of it, right? To help you get rid of it. To help deliver you from it. It says, he should say something like, I have seen something like mildew in my house. Then the priest must order the people to empty the house. It's a cleaning out, clearing out, an emptying out of the house. They must do this before he goes in to look at the mildew. So it almost looks like a separation of the clean and the unclean. He will look at the mildew. The mildew on the walls of the house might be green or red. If it might go into the wall's surface. If these things are true, then he must go out and close up the house for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest must come back and check the house. The mildew may have spread on the walls of the house. If it has, the priest must order the people to tear out the stones with the mildew on them. So it's tearing out of the stones with the mildew. It's a little tearing out, but not much, right? They must throw the stones away. They must put the stones at a certain unclean place outside of the city. That stands out to me because they have to place it where it's unclean, right? So because anything that's unclean that touches something that's clean, it now makes it unclean too. Then the priest must have all the inside of the house scraped. So people must throw away the plaster they scraped off of the walls, and they must put the plaster at a certain unclean place outside the city. Then the owner must put new stones in the walls. He must cover the walls with a new clay plaster. A person may have taken away the old stones and plaster. He may have put in the new stones and plaster, but the mildew may again appear in his house. So you may have gotten rid of sin, but not fully, and it may reappear and come back because you never got rid of it fully the first time, right? So it says he may have put in new stone and may reappear. If it does, the priest must come back and check the house again. Now God's got to come back and check your house again. If the mildew has spread in your house, if that sin has started spreading in your house, it is a mildew that destroys things. It is a sin that is destructive. It can start destroying things within the home, right? Like I said, if you're sinning and you're in a relationship with someone, right, or even in a marriage with someone, and one of you has brought in sin, that sin can start destroying things within that home, right? Anything that is within that home has the ability to, at that point, be destroyed. It opens a door for destruction. So the house is unclean. Now the whole house is unclean, right? Anything that was in that house is unclean. Then the owner must tear down the house. Now the whole house has got to be torn down. Instead of it just being one little brick, right? One little stone, right? Now that sin has spread throughout the house, and now you got to tear down the whole entire house. He must remove all of its stones, plaster and wood, everything. He must take them to the unclean place outside the city. Anyone who goes into the house will be unclean until evening. Anybody that comes within that house is now unclean. Anyone who eats in that house or lies down there must wash his clothes. So anything that came into contact with that house, that ate from that house, that slept in that took from that house, right? Now has to go cleanse himself. It's a domino effect, right? And that's why too, you should be cleansing yourself religiously. Like, if you come into contact with anybody knowingly or even unknowingly, right, and allow sin, now that's trickling in and it's going to cause problem after problem after problem. You may not even be aware, right? So it's important to schedule those maintenance checkups, those servicing appointments with God to come in and, cleanse you and such. So after the new stones and plaster have been put in the house, it was a tearing down and then a rebuilding of new. So it says the priest must check it again. Now God, just like when he created everything, he had to come back on that seventh day. Like, he checked everything and he deemed it good, right? The seventh day, he said, everything was good. It was finished. It was complete, and he rested. And I think that's why the number 7 days keeps popping back up in this chapter, because that's what it's bringing to my mind. The mildew may not have spread in the house. Then the priest will announce that the house is clean, right? So now it's clean. This is because the mildew is gone. That sin is gone. And sometimes God has to completely tear you down, right? Strip you of everything to get rid of that sin. That's the only way. It seems like that got this mildew to go away, was to completely strip it all down. And sometimes that's what God has to do with us, right? And so it says, then to make the house clean, the priest must take 2 birds. He must take also a piece of cedar wood, a piece of red cloth, and hyssop. He will kill 1 bird in a clay bowl containing fresh water. Then he will take the other bird that is still alive, and he will also take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the red cloth. He will dip the living bird and other things into the blood. This is the blood of the bird who was killed over the fresh water. That seems like Jesus's blood, right? The living water. So then the priest will sprinkle the blood on the house 7 times. That's like that just reminds me of like the blood covering the house in the blood of Jesus, a covering, pleading of the blood of Jesus, right? A covering, a protection. This is the blood that was from the bird that was killed over the fresh water. Then the priest will sprinkle the blood on the house 7 times. He will use the bird's blood, the fresh water, and the live bird. And he will use the cedar wood and the hyssop and the red cloth. With these things, he will make the house clean. The priest will go to an open field outside in the city, and he will let the living bird go free. This is how the priest makes the house clean and ready for service for the Lord. So it's a whole entire process to for you, your house, right, to be ready for use from the Lord, to be so that you can be a service to God, right? Because you can't really be a service for him, a service to him, right? If you've got all this sin going on, right? He's got to clean you first. He's got to take you through so every now and again, like throughout your journey, right? Because we're not perfect. We're not going to live sin free completely. Nobody's perfect. So he's got to, in order to help you stay on track so that you can be a service to him, right? And to keep you on track and alignment, he needs you to stay on track with service. So maybe, also he took me to James 1:14 to 15, and it's basically sin that grows and brings death. Sin that grows and brings destruction. You got to get rid of it, right? In order to be a service to him, in order for, you to be everything to keep running smoothly, right on your journey, whether that's in relationships, within your relationships with people, within your marriage, within your job, within your ministry, within whatever the case. You got to allow him to come in and cleanse you and keep you cleansed, right? And so take it to God. Take everything to God. Maybe ask him, show me what it is that I need to get rid of. Show me what it is that I need to, like I said, certain things you might be feeling as of lately, it might just be those things being brought to light. So he's trying to show you, like, hey, this is still here. I need to get rid of this. We need to get rid of it. We need to let this go, right? So take it back to God, sit with God on it, and schedule that service appointment with him. I pray that it gets to who it needs to get to. I pray that this made sense. And yeah, I pray it wasn't all over the place. I pray that it gets to who it needs to get to at the right time. If y'all feel led to sow, my information's in the description box. I pray over every seed that is sown. I pray that, God bless you 1,000-fold in return for your obedience. And I just pray y'all have a blessed rest of your day. And I will see you on my next video whenever that may be. Okay, bye.